If hard work always paid off, every food truck owner, baker, and maker that I know would be wildly profitable. Let's talk about one of the elephants in the room in the industry here for a minute. Did you know that food-based businesses like food trucks, bakeries, restaurants, they have about a 70% failure rate? That is one of the highest failure rates of any small business category. And why? Well, generally speaking, they say it's because we have low profit margins, we have high operating costs, we are dependent on things like that are outside of our control, like the weather and things. Our product is often waste, and there's a lot of competition. And then the other part of that is also we often don't know what we're doing in order to actually grow and run the business, and we just keep doing more and more and more, and we're ignoring the fact that we should be putting more effort into running the business aspect of it. But what we end up doing is just making more stuff and trying to sell more stuff, and we're not spending the time that we need to do in order to market and promote and actually get momentum. We work very hard, but effort does not always equal progress. And so today we are going to pick apart the difference between motion and momentum, and why so many passionate, wonderful food entrepreneurs end up burning themselves out without actually moving their business forward at all. Because here on the On Your Terms podcast, the goal is not to work more. The goal is not to hustle more. The goal is to create a business that sustains your life instead of the other way around. So if you're new here, hi, my name is Bethany Archer, and I'm the host of the On Your Terms podcast. I'm so glad that you could join me today. Today, we are going to talk about why passion is not enough and why you might be working hard or harder than ever and not making progress. So let's talk about why would we start a food business in the first place. Most of us, we start these food businesses because we love what it is that we make. Very few of us, and there's probably some of you out there, but very few of us, we start a business selling food because we're like, well, I need to start a business. Any kind of business will do. What am I going to do? Oh yeah, I'm going to do this food truck, or I'm going to start a bakery in my home, or whatever. Most of it is because we're passionate about what we do and we love what we make and we really want to feed people. And that passion is very powerful, but it is not a business model. And passion does not protect you from being pulled in 10 different directions and underpricing and burnout and getting overwhelmed and just whatever. I have felt it so many times myself, this desire to just do more, as if for some reason, if I make more stuff, that means I could automatically just sell more stuff. It doesn't work that way. Or I have noticed people in my local community, other food sellers who run themselves ragged trying to just get these tiny little returns. And so I want to talk about this. When we're scared and we're behind the bills and the things are crunching, but we're trying really, really hard to work to create this better lives for ourselves, we're desperate to grow. Anything feels safer than just stopping long enough to breathe and figure out what actually works. Unfortunately, that's kind of sometimes what we need to do. So let's talk about motion versus momentum. As you may have noticed, we live in a culture that rewards visible effort. If you're exhausted, then you must be doing it right. If you're busy, you must be building something. But being busy and actually building something are not actually the same thing. So here's what motion is. Motion is activity. It looks like progress. We're responding to every message immediately. We're contorting ourselves and our lives just so that we can say yes to all those little orders. We're adding new products all the time. We're posting just a post, or we're driving across town for just one sale. Motion is what feels productive. It's constant hamster wheel. It feels responsible because we're doing something. It feels like you're doing your job. But motion does not compound. It just keeps you running. It's like a one-off. You do it the one time, and then that's it. It doesn't really have any long-lasting effects. Now, momentum, on the other hand, momentum is what happens when your effort kind of builds upon itself, when the things that you do start to stack. It's like a system you set up once that keeps working, or a marketing channel that continues to grow over time, or a product lineup that gets more profitable the longer you sell it, because a lot of the work in a new product is kind of initially, that's in the very beginning. Momentum is slower at first, but it's the only thing that ever actually moves the needle. And this is something that often we get confused in our lives in many other areas. And so you might also, as we're listening and talking about this, you might hear some other things that you need to do in other areas. But this does definitely apply and is very relevant to the way that we often operate our businesses. Okay, so here's the distinction. Motion is what keeps you afloat. Momentum, though, is what moves you forward. And the brutal truth is you can stay in motion pretty much indefinitely without actually going anywhere in your business. And that's kind of a problem. And it's very, very easy for us to do. We do it almost automatically. Why do we default to motion? It's because it's immediate. It scratches that itch of being like, I need to do something. I'm in this situation. I need to make money. I need to do this right now. Momentum, on the other hand, requires patience and strategy, sometimes saying no, which can be uncomfortable. And when we are stressed and behind, and let's face it, in our modern 2026 culture, that's pretty much constantly, motion feels a lot safer than pausing to think. Think about it this way. I'm going to totally use a way off the walls example. I had a job one time where I worked at a sign shop, and I was a graphic designer there, and I was the office manager. And when I got hired on, I learned very quickly why the owner kept talking about how he couldn't keep employees. It was because he wanted to hire me and then have me know everything that I needed to know in order to run the business. And so he just kind of let me figure it out on my own. It was incredibly frustrating for me, but it was also frustrating for him because I kept making mistakes. I slowed things down because I didn't have the proper training. And the learning curve for that job was incredibly long. And I was so frustrated. It was months and months and months before I felt like I had a good understanding of what to do. And I was constantly making mistakes because I'd never received the training that I needed. What this owner should have done is he should have taken a couple of days and just been with me. I mean, he actually literally went out of town for a week, like a week after I was hired. I didn't even know how to access half the systems. It was crazy. But I did not get the proper training. He should have taken a step back with the hustling that he felt that he had to do and say, okay, I know I have a lot of stuff to do. I really feel like I need to make money, but what I need to do is I need to take some time and invest that time into the slow stuff, because then that's going to pay even better. It would have paid him more to take some time to train me properly, because then I would not have cost the company money and doing things incorrectly because I had never been taught to do it otherwise, and things like that. And many of you probably have been in the same situation. Maybe you have. So think about motion as it's just something that it feels good. It feels like I'm getting somewhere, but you're actually not moving anywhere at all. So let's talk about some quote unquote real scenarios. There were composites of people that I've seen, maybe people that maybe you, maybe me. I mean, I would never, ever, ever do any of these things. Just kidding. Where motion is being mistaken for momentum. And I want you to notice how they feel, each of these scenarios, they feel like you're working really hard. Because it is, and these people are working really hard, but that's not the problem. The problem is where that work and that effort and that energy is pointed to. Okay? So first, let's talk about Susie. Susie's a baker. She's a home baker, and she wants every single sale. And we have a customer who says, hey, I want one banana bread, but you're going to need to deliver it to my office because I can't come to the market or to your house during the pickup hours. And Susie says, yes, sure, because a sale is a sale, right? And so she does it with her normal batch, and then she takes time out of her day and packs it up beautifully for the road, and she drives 12 minutes and waits in the lobby and hands it off and drives home, right? For this $8 loaf of banana bread. So here's the problem. She spent about 40 minutes in total out of her life to do this. And I'm talking about her, not just her time in driving, but the time she had to wait in the lobby for the person. Also the time that she had to back and forth online to make these arrangements. It took about 40 minutes, let's say, extra than it would have been if that person had just come up to her at the farmer's market or, made the order in her pre-orders and come to her house to pick it up. And then there's also fuel costs and there's packaging costs because there's a little extra packaging for this scenario. And okay, what is that profit on one loaf of bread? Maybe $3 or $4. If she has considered her time, and she absolutely should, and this is a mini side quest lecture for you, you must absolutely be accounting for all the time that you put into your business. Every minute of your time needs to be understood and seen. And I'm not talking about that you have to actually build that in. Oh, yeah, sure, you're going to pay me my normal hourly rate to do this. But what I am talking about is you need to be aware and you need to understand that that is a cost. Okay. Every single minute of your time put into your business, when you are grocery shopping, when you are chatting with customers and making arrangements, it's not just the actual time that you spend making the product that you're selling. It's all the time that you spend on your business entirely. So in this case, this woman, she has 40 minutes out of her life that she would not have normally spent. She would have had that time to do other things. She took 40 minutes of that time. Let's say she pays herself $15 an hour. She should probably pay herself more, but at $15 an hour, that's $10 in labor right there for an $8 loaf of bread that maybe has $3 or $4 of profit built in. And so you might see where I'm going with this. Even without the hourly wage, though, the fuel cost and extra packaging probably wiped out most of her profit on the sale to begin with. We will often justify this in our heads by telling ourselves, well, this is a customer and she'll probably order again in the future, which may or may not be true, sure. But either way, we haven't incurred what is called an opportunity cost, and we have worked for free. And working for free, sometimes we do it. I do it sometimes. I do it intentionally sometimes. It is always with intent. And for you, it should always be with intent for you. But let's talk about the opportunity cost. She could have used that 40 minutes for all kinds of things. She could have used it to work on growing her email list, or scheduling a text message blast, or scheduling an email to her list if she had one, or posting a weekly menu, or prepping for a market, or building a big Google profile. She could have taken better product photos. She could have talked to a bookkeeper. There's all kinds of things that are more kind of high level things she could have done her time. If she had that 40 minutes to take out of her day, then she could have taken that 40 minutes and done things that would have moved her business forward, because this did not move the business forward in any way whatsoever, other than this might be someone who might someday buy from her. So it's not just that she lost money, which effectively she did, but she also lost the future money that that time could have created for her, especially when it comes to working on your email list, or, your text message list, and figuring out new ways to promote that, or getting more people on your list and things like that. Those things are worth so much more than I'm going to basically give this loaf of banana bread to this person for free and hope that someday that they buy from me. Although chances are that person would probably be like, well, maybe they'll just deliver it to me at the office again, and they're just going to keep doing that. Anyway, the important thing here is we need to look at the opportunity cost for all the time that you're spending. We absolutely must stop thinking about every single individual sale and focus on the activities that will actually grow the business as a whole. Okay, so example number 2. Let's talk about Lydia, the baker who has a million flavors, because maybe that might be me or what I want to do, but I have to try not to. Let's say Lydia is super creative and she's a perfectionist, and she's always trying to both refine what she's already making, and she always also wants to try new things. She wants to try new flavors. She wants to keep her customers entertained by the flavors that she has. And every week she's adding new flavors, and she's testing out new recipes and new ingredients, and she's doing all these things. And her customers, they kind of enjoy the variety, but her profit is unstable. Okay. Customers actually can get frustrated because they might have a favorite, but they can't consistently get it. And her hours keep climbing, and her marketing can't really compound. She can't really build momentum because she's constantly doing the new thing. So think about this. Every new thing that you bring to market, there's certain upfront work that is required. So for me, if I'm going to do a new cookie flavor, right, I have to kind of think of the new flavor. I have to think if it matches seasonally. Sometimes I have to make it ahead of time. Sometimes I have to make it a couple times, and that's sometimes wasted ingredients because I can't sell those. And then I have to take pictures and I have to write up product descriptions and then I have to do all this stuff. And that's all just to bring a brand new flavor. Okay? There is so much work when you do that. And if you're doing that every single week, you are wasting so much of your time. Yes, I am speaking to myself here. So, what is simple? Pick some signature items, have a rotating special, figure out reusable photos and descriptions, something to streamline so that you can actually stack upon the work that you've already done. So here's an example for me. As we speak right now, I am planning to put my house on the market in a couple months. In order to do that, I have scaled back to the absolute bare minimum that I can do in pretty much everything else, and that includes my baking. And I have a best-selling item that my customers absolutely will not do without. I get in big trouble if I'm not making it, and so that is the one thing that I'm making. But because I make it so often and I make it in such quantity, I have lots of great photos. I already have like so much built-in demand because people love it. There's so much momentum with that one particular product, and I have a great system for making it. It's like super easy for me to make it. So I can very easily keep those things in stock and available for the customers who want them because it's just all autopilot. It's repeating work for me. If I literally just had a menu focused on things like that, where I didn't really change it up hardly at all, my workload would be so much less. And so then I would have more of my quote unquote bakery time to devote to things like marketing and working on my email list and experimenting with Facebook ads and doing all the things that I want to do. And so this is kind of that 80-20 rule in action where it's, in this case, it's 20% of what I make generally is, 80% of the results. So right now it's 100% and 100% because that's the only thing I'm making right now. But that's a good example. If I was trying to make the equivalent number of things, but trying to mix it up and make a bunch of new flavors and everything like that, I would have probably 2 or 3 times as much work than just making this one product that is very sustainable for me. So that's kind of a contrasty example of how when you're constantly trying new things, that's a lot of constant wasted effort that may or may not be worth it, because does that really result in more orders than you would get otherwise? Very likely it's not. Or let's talk about here another example, a food truck owner named Joe. Joe is super proud of being everywhere. He thinks that more events equals more money. So he is at the Wednesday market, and he does the Friday night music nights, and he's doing Saturday morning and afternoon, and then he's doing Sunday brunch, and he's working harder than anyone, and he's everywhere all the time. But he never takes the time to build an email list or a text message list. He's never figuring out and updating his Google business profile. He hardly ever takes the time to post online. He has no kind of systems. He spends all of his weeks reacting and prepping instead of actually growing his business. So you cannot grow a business when every ounce of your energy is spent on actually keeping the business afloat. So there's that old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? So let's think about it in this case. An ounce of proactive behavior is worth a pound of reactive behavior. And when you're constantly going, and you're just being reactive just because you leave yourself next to no room to be proactive, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to make sure that you have space in your life and in your business to do the proactive things, the things that will stack, the things that will compound, and the things that will give you that momentum. And why is that so important? So the big overall lesson here, the core of all this, let's talk about your time as a business owner. You can buy more ingredients. You can buy more containers. You can pay somebody to do photos for you. You can't buy more you. Your time is the single most expensive ingredient in your entire business. It is the one thing that you cannot get back. You cannot get more of it. You cannot outsource it. You need to spend your time as effectively and as wisely as you possibly can. You need to be very well aware of any opportunity costs that you might be costing yourself. You need to have strategic focus. You need to be thinking long term in your business. And you need to focus on leveraged actions like building an online presence and ranking in AI or generating pre-orders, batching tasks, creating systems. So here's an example of creating a system that would help. So let's say you're doing a lot of events throughout the week, right? You're Joe in this example, and you're just constantly going, and you're constantly doing new events. And Joe never actually takes the time to set up a good system for his grocery purchasing. So he finds that he constantly has to keep going back to the store, or he's always forgetting something, and it's really frustrating. So what Joe needs to do is step out of the reactive mode and go into proactive mode and sit there and be like, okay, I'm going to make it a priority for an entire week that I'm going to make a list of every grocery item that I need to buy for my menu. It doesn't matter whether I have it on hand or not. If I at some point will need to buy it, then it goes onto the list. So then once he's done that over a period of a week, and I'm sure he would, think of things here and there, which is why I say don't sit down just and do this, but take the time in the week to do it. Then he'll have this one master list. And when it's time for him to actually do his shopping, then he can go through the master list and be like, oh yeah, that's right. I don't have this and I don't have this and I don't have that. And then ultimately that will save him massive amounts of time because he won't have to make so many last minute trips to the grocery store. See what I'm saying? Now you got to understand, all of these people, they are not lazy. They are all working very, very hard. They're not doing nothing. But if you zoom out, you can see the efforts are not stacking. They're not actually getting momentum. They're not moving anywhere. And so the question for you right now is, do you see yourself in any of these scenarios? I definitely do. It's a repeating lesson I have to keep teaching myself over and over and over. But for now, I think the goal is just to start seeing it, because once you start seeing it, then you actually can do something about it. You can't change something if you can't see it. And I think that's the first step. So right now, I just want you to be aware. So think about this, just kind of a mini exercise, so to speak, for the week. I just want you to be aware. As you go throughout your week, just try to notice where you are actively choosing motion instead of momentum. Obviously, there's going to be quite a bit of motion as a part of our business. We do still have to make the things, right? But be aware of when you're choosing that, when maybe you don't actually have to. Is this actually moving me forward, or is it just keeping me busy? If I stop doing this, what would happen? Or ask yourself, is this task actually profitable, or is it just urgent? And if it is just urgent, could I just not do it? Or what is the opportunity cost of what this person's request will cost me? Before you say yes to anything, what will it cost you? And, of course, can this be simplified? Can it be batched? Can it be eliminated? Can it be automated? Can it be outsourced? There's all kinds of things. So I just want you to think about throughout your week, what can I do to create more momentum, to try to turn that motion into momentum? And I'm super curious what you find out. If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave me a comment. If you're not, please just tag me anywhere. I am at Bethany Archer Official everywhere. I would really, really love to know what you think and what you have gotten out of this. So let's just kind of wrap it all up real quick. You do not have to hustle your way to success. We do that, but we don't have to. You don't have to do more to grow. And you definitely don't have to say yes to everything. You don't need to be spending your days chasing the dollar, chasing $8 loaf of bread sales across town. You're not going to win this game by working harder. You win the game by working smarter and more strategically. Because progress is created in focus, systems, boundaries, intention. It is not created by just constant motion with no end goal in sight. And this just really goes back to what this podcast is all about and why I'm even talking to you in the first place. Because we are building freedom and a life that is on your terms with a business that actually works for you and not the other way around. And so with that said, I am very grateful for your support and your time. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, if you found it helpful. And if there's anyone in your life that you think might benefit from it, I would love for you to share it from them. And in the meantime, I will see you next week.